So here we are, another very, very warm day for our mindful mat Pilates practice. But thank you for being brave. And actually, it's easier, right, when you're inside your house and it's comfortable. Maybe you're even subterranean, if you're in your basement where it's nice and cool. But we're going to spend most of our time on the floor today. So have all the things that you would need to be on the floor, your blocks and your strap and your pillows and blankets and whatever else you might need, and have your roller handy. I see mine is right over here. And I just want to keep working with this concept of um, building better awareness, a more intimate relationship with your spinal column, um, the root, of our whole skeletal system, the attachment point for so many of our large muscles. In our body, you might not even think of your spine as an attachment point, but what else is a skeleton, right? Like it's a firm framework that protects some of our organs and like gives us structure, and all of our muscles and tendons have to attach to something. So they're mostly attaching to our bones. Sometimes they're attaching to very strong ligaments, but those ligaments have to attach to something. So your bones, including your spine, are your anchor points for your various muscle systems. And so that's why awareness of the spine is so important. Awareness of the structure, the ribs and the pelvis, because we want things to be aligned and set appropriately for different actions, or we want them to be more fluid and we want them to be mobile. So without further ado, let's actually begin this morning on our backs, and you can use a pillow if you'd like to. Just want to loosen up um, some points in the legs, right? Oh, let me just close. I don't know if this is going to show up as some weird little AI notification has shown up. So come onto your back, and if you want a pillow, go ahead and use a pillow. And let's lay with the left leg straight. Right, so you're on your back, your left leg is straight, and you choose what you'd like to do with that left foot. If you want to point the left foot, if you'd like to flex the left foot, you choose, but make a choice, right? Rather than just sort of having a foot and not knowing what it's doing. And then let's bring the right leg into tabletop and take your hands one at a time around the back of your thigh with your elbows slightly held upwards, right? So your elbows are not dropped down, but you're holding your arms. So there's some muscular tone to this position, which feels to me as if I were holding a laundry basket, right? Something round in front of my body. And let's just begin with this right foot here and start to move it by flexing and pointing, right? And you can feel that in the toes, and you could feel that in the body of the foot, and you can also feel that in your heel, right? And ideally, you would feel all of the foot from the heel through the body of the foot and to the toes, right? And then also sensing the relationship between the foot, ankle, and the lower portion of your leg from your knee down, where you've got lots of muscles that are responsible for movements of the foot, right? It's like pointing and flexing. Let's do a couple more pointing and flexing. And then pause with your right foot flexed. And as you extend your right leg straight up, point your foot. And as you flex your knee, flex your foot. So as you extend your knee, you're extending your foot. And as you flex your knee, you're flexing your foot. So now we're getting into the muscle systems in the upper leg as well as in the lower leg. So just feeling the muscles working from your toes all the way to your upper thigh. Let's do a few more like that. Just warming up these nice big muscles in the leg. And one more. And then let's release that right leg all the way to the floor so it can rest. Either with your foot pointed or flexed, you choose. Bring the left leg to tabletop. Take your hands around the back of your thigh. Lift your elbows, right? And again, let's begin to move the foot. And you might choose to stretch your toes and curl your toes as part of pointing and flexing, right? Feeling the main body of the foot, the heel of the foot, and the movement of the muscles of your lower leg that are part of this action of pointing and flexing your foot. And then let's go ahead and extend the leg upward, pointing the foot, and flex the knee and flex the foot. Extend the leg, extend the foot, and flex the knee and flex the foot. So feeling now the big muscles of your thigh getting involved with this action that now includes changes in the knee joint, getting the whole leg involved with this action of extension and flexion. Let's do a few more. And one more. And then releasing that left leg all the way down to the ground. Now, keep your left leg aligned and you can point or flex your left foot. Bring your right leg to tabletop, but this time reach your arms out like a T. So your leg is holding itself up. Okay. And then maintaining flexion in the knee, which we call bending the knee, but that's flexion, right? So maintaining a flexed knee, begin to circle your leg from your hip joint without extending your knee. So you're keeping your knee steady and you're circling your leg so that there's motion in the hip joint. So as my leg goes around, I intentionally maintain the same angle of knee flexion, right? That does not change. So my shin position is sturdy. And then when you get back to the center, pause and reverse the direction of your circles, circling your leg with your knee flex, maintaining a stable knee as you stir in the hip socket. Now let's take that one more time around, pausing in tabletop. Take a hold of the back of your thigh. Okay. Extend your leg to the best of your ability and now circle your foot. And feel that movement that includes the heel, the main body of your foot, and do whatever you want to do with your toes. Feel that this is coming not just from your foot, but also from your lower leg, and then reverse. Excuse me, I just breathed in something. I can feel the muscles of my shin are starting to get fatigued. And so we'll pause and release that right leg to the floor. Now, arms open like a T. Left leg comes into a tabletop position. We're going to keep that flex knee stable and begin to make circles in the hip joint. So your shin position is stable. You don't want to feel your shin flopping around, right? Shin flops if the knee is not stable. And we're circling and stirring in that left hip joint area. Next time you come around the center, pause and then reverse your circles. So now that we're getting movement in the hip, we're starting to feel some response in the core. Because crazy as it seems, some of the muscles we're using now connect to your spine. One more circle. Let's pause in tabletop, hold the leg, straighten it to the best of your ability, and work on circling that foot. So again, now we're into the muscles of the foot and lower leg, smoothing that out as well as you can, reversing the movement of circling the foot. And then pause and release that left leg all the way down. Let's go ahead and bend our knees and roll onto our left side. Now, if you'd like to use a pillow of some sort where you're laying on your side, that's absolutely fine. So, whatever's comfortable for you, laying on your side. Okay, you can use your arm or an actual pillow. And then your legs are both flexed and stacked top on bottom, right? And you're not in tabletop. So your knees are not in front of your hip joints. They're slightly lower than that. And the bottoms of your feet are positioned to be more in line with your back. Okay. And then we're going to twist both legs to lift the feet up off of the floor, right? And now continuing movement for the hip, we're going to open and close the space between the knees, internally and externally rotating the leg. So some of the muscles that we're using for this connect to the pelvis, and some of the muscles that we're using for this action connect to the spinal column itself, right? So, in the backside of your body, it's not unusual to experience sensations around the back of the pelvis and kind of the sacrum area of your spine. But mostly what we're using here are muscles that connect to the back of your pelvis, very close to your spine. Let's do two more and one more. And then we're going to pause and place the feet down. Now let's bring the legs into tabletop position on the floor. Make a slight adjustment with our core muscle, our abdominal muscle, so that your spine isn't sagging towards the ground. And then extend your top leg. Just hold it straight. Okay. Holding your leg straight, just circle your foot. Hold your leg straight along your body, right? And just circle your foot in this orientation, which kind of changes the way that you feel the muscles, experience the muscles working. And then reverse the circling, reverse the circling of your foot. And now pause, hold the foot steady, and circle the leg, the whole leg. Right now, the work comes up to the region of the pelvis where the muscles connect to the pelvis. So we have to keep this pelvis stable, spine and pelvis stable while we circle the leg. You could really feel that in my butt this morning. And then let's reverse the direction of those circles. Feeling this around the side and back of the hip area primarily, not the front. Really not feeling this in the front, shouldn't be feeling it in the front. And then let's pause and let those legs recover while we switch over to the second side. So shifting to the other side, laying on your side with a pillow or a yoga block or whatever you need to make yourself feel comfortable in this position. The legs are not tabletop. Whoops. The legs are not tabletop. Instead, your knees are slightly below where your hip joints are, and your feet are more aligned with your back. Okay. And then twist your legs, right? And now we're going to open and close the space between the knees, relaxing the inner thighs, and primarily working the glutes to perform this action, right? And sometimes I think it's helpful to be aware of how you perceive this effort. So you don't push your leg up from your inner thigh. You engage your butt muscle, and that's what brings your leg into that open clam position. Let's do a couple more. And then pause and set your feet down. Now bring your legs into tabletop on your side. Extend your top leg. right? Engage your core on the lower side of your body more so than others so that you're not collapsed into the mat. If you feel very elongated and straight, and just move your foot. Just circle the foot. And we can sort of feel the muscles on the side of the lower leg working more now than we did before in the previous position. And then circle your foot in the other direction, working out the stickies of the ankle. And now let's pause, holding the leg steady. Begin to circle the whole leg, feeling that in the side of your hip, but also in the back of your hip without letting your ribs and spine start to sag into the floor. And the next time you come through the center, reverse the direction of your circles. You're not really working from the front of your leg now. You're working primarily from the side with more sensation in the back than in the front. One more time around, and then let's pause and rest that leg. Really, really nice. Okay, let's go ahead and grab a yoga block if you don't already have one and come to laying on your back without a pillow. So, laying on a back, no pillow, with a yoga block between your knees. Okay. And then arranging your feet so that your feet feel like they are the same distance apart as your knees. Arms alongside the body, but not pinching your sides, which will kind of cause your shoulders to lift, right? So your arms are along your sides and your shoulders are sinking heavily toward the floor. Adjust your head position so that the back of your neck feels elongated, right? And then just take a moment here to allow the tension in your torso to relax somewhat. So you begin to get a sense of the back of your spine against the floor. So if you have too much tension in your body right now to start, you might not feel the back of your spine sinking into the mat. So let's just see if we can take another few moments to allow more tension to soften so that we really feel our spine sinking into the floor. And softening, sinking are not synonymous with tension and pushing the back into the floor, right? So it's the opposite of effort. It's an effortless sinking into the mat. And while you're softening and let your spine sink into the mat, bring your attention to the front of your body and see if you can identify with your mind's eye where your pubic bone is, just sensing that area of your body. And from your pubic bone, see if you can then have a sense of where is your navel, where's your belly button. And then finally from there, where is your sternum, your breastbone? Right, so you're bringing your attention to the center line of the front of your body, which is your bridge line, right? The center line of your front has a nice relationship with your spinal column. So now, starting from your pubic bone, begin to curl away from the floor, right? Rising up that center line from the pubic bone through the belly button, rising up all the way to your sternum, pausing, letting your weight shift back into your shoulders. And now reversing that, softening your sternum, your breastbone into the mat, letting your belly button sink, and then finally uncurling your pubic bone. So, one of the ways that we can feel the spine curl is by bringing our attention to the front of the body, right? Because pubic bone, tailbone, belly button, lumbar spine, breastbone, thoracic spine, rising all the way up to bridge, letting those shoulders sink back, and then reversing that, thinking the breastbone sinks the thoracic spine, Sinking the navel sinks the lumbar spine, and returning the pubic bone to its original location returns the tailbone to its original location. Right, so now just continue for 5 more bridges. Just experimenting with a strategy that gives you a better sense of your spine, the areas of your spine that move more freely, and the area of your spine that is more congested. And where you feel the congestion, you'll feel limited mobility. And so you're just trying to experiment with different ways to restore mobility to your whole spine. Let's do a couple more. Taking a nice big breath at the top of your bridge and melting back down. And let's do one more. And coming all the way back down. Terrific. Let's remove the block, roll to our side, and find our roller. Find your roller, put your roller down the center of your mat, and then lay on your back on your roller. And if you prefer the soft roller, then you use the soft roller. If you only have one, then use what you have, right? So lay on the roller that is the most comfortable for you to lay on. And when you're getting yourself set on your roller, if you have a soft roller, one of the things that I notice when I use my soft roller is my soft roller definitely is harder to get in a straight line because it's soft, right? So you just kind of have to pay attention to that if you have a soft roller. If you have a firmer roller, it's not an issue. It's much easier because it just stays straight. And so then you just notice you want to be have a butt cheek on either side of the center of the roller. You want to feel like it's kind of splitting you behind your ribs. Your shoulder blades feel equidistant from the roller. And then just sensing the back of your skull, your ears should be equidistant from the center of the back of your skull. Okay, right? Now, just scooch your feet against each other so you feel the inside edges of your feet touching from your heels to your big toe. And then keeping your heels in contact, pick up your toes and turn that part of your foot outwards. And then keep your toes on the mat and turn your heels out. And that should put your feet about hips distance apart. It's a good way to do that, right? So feet touching, turn out the toes, turn out the heels. You should be there, right? And then keeping the legs in parallel. So the knees are not reaching for each other, right? They're just straight down from the hip sockets. Let's do some work to mobilize the shoulders and the arms, right? So let's start with circles for the shoulder area, right? So the muscles of the chest. And so we're just going to begin to, with relaxed arms, start to circle so that our collarbones feel like they're moving and our shoulder blades are moving. And your rib cage is just getting a little bit of a squish from different directions. Make it feel good. So do less if less feels better than more. And then reverse the movement, right? So feeling those collarbones moving, the shoulder blades moving, right? Changes around the muscles that connect to the spine and to the breastbone that cross the back of the chest and the front of the chest. And then let that relax. Let that area relax. Let's go ahead and pick up both arms. Hold your arms straight. palms facing towards each other, but your arms are not near, they're exactly shoulder joint distance apart from each other, right? Fingertips pointing straight up towards the ceiling. And let's use the feeling of the roller and the shoulder blades to help us with this. So, keeping your arms straight at all times, I want you to squeeze your shoulder blades together, relax that effort. And now, to separate the shoulder blades, reach your fingertips for the ceiling. And now, squeeze your shoulder blades together, relax that, and reach your fingertips for the ceiling. So you're feeling those shoulder blades come together with an effort from the back of your chest, and your shoulder blades separate because your arms are reaching upwards towards the ceiling, and that comes from the front of your chest. Back of the chest, front of the chest. It also might be nice to notice your collarbones, right? Your collarbones, which attach to your breastbone at the center of your chest. They're flexing backwards when you squeeze your shoulder blades together. And they're flexing forwards as you reach your fingertips towards the ceiling. Let's do one more of each, contracting to bring the shoulder blades together and contracting the front of the chest to bring them apart. Come back to neutral and open your arms out wide like a T without letting your arms drop below the roller height. So your arms are roller height. And double check that you're not going to hit your hand on anything when you make a circle, palms facing up. Let's begin to circle the arms, and you're going to feel that in the shoulder joint itself. So now the collarbones and the shoulder blades are relatively steady. And we're just circling the arms at the shoulder joint, but we still feel the connection of the muscles to the upper body. We're just not moving the collarbones or the shoulder blades. And then pause in the center and reverse the direction of your circles. And then pause in the center again. Place the backs of your hands on the mat. Slowly soften your elbows into the floor, right? So you feel that extra stretch across the front of your chest. And then without lifting your head, slowly roll your head as if you were falling asleep. Let your head roll to the right. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, bring your head back to the center. Again, as if you were falling asleep, the way that your head would drop if you were falling asleep to the left. Take a breath. Come back to center. We'll do that twice more. Rolling the head, a controlled roll to the right, taking a breath. Coming back to the center, rolling the head to the left. Take a breath, coming back to center one more time, rolling to the right. Take a breath, back to center, rolling to the left. Take a breath, coming back to center, and then you can bring your arms back onto your mat and roll yourself off of your mat, coming completely off of your back. Let's set the rollers off to the side. And come up onto a hands and knees position or some variation of that position. Sometimes when we have the tops of the feet on the ground, when we're on our hands and knees, our feet cramp, right? And that's just because the feet aren't used to that much plantar flexion. That's the pointing activation. So it's not a big deal. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that your feet might cramp a little bit just because they're not accustomed to that position, right? And then from here, let's go ahead and just take a moment to bring in some spinal awareness before we start flexion and extension, the cat cow, right? So Sensing your spine, either from your skull all the way down through your trunk to your tailbone, or the reverse from tailbone to head. Doesn't matter to me. Only when we start to move does it matter where you begin. So you pick a beginning point, either at your head or your tail. And wherever you choose to begin, you're going to curl the full length of your spine, pausing to take a breath, opening the back of your spinal joints, and then returning slowly to neutral, right? Starting either at the end or the beginning, the top or the bottom, begin to move into extension, which we call the cow, opening the front of your spinal joints. And take a nice deep breath in and then return to neutral. Starting either at the top or the bottom, opening up the back of the joints from head to tail, taking a breath, returning to neutral. Starting either at the top or the bottom, move into extension, the cow, opening the front of the spinal joints. And take a breath. Let's do that one more time. Taking a nice deep breath before you come to neutral. And then the extension, opening the front of all of the spinal joints, and then coming back to neutral. Really nice. Let's come off of our hands and come onto our backs. No pillow, please, if that's okay for you. Extend your left leg, bend your right with your foot flat. Slip your left hand behind your head, right arm out to the side. You can flex your left foot or point your left foot, whatever you would prefer to do. Okay. Now, I would say that if you're having trouble sometimes with the cramping of your feet, you might start to work your feet into plantar flexion more often, right? They might benefit from that. So just see how that feels for you. Okay. So now sensing your spine from your skull down through your thorax, your chest, right? Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, begin to curl your head, upper spine away from the floor and begin twisting to the right. And then slowly reverse that, untwisting the spine and lowering back down to the ground. Curling up and twisting, taking a breath and reversing, or doing it all on one exhale and one inhale. Working with the sequence from the head down on the way up, and then from the chest to the head on the way back down. And let's do that 3 more times, taking it slow, working in a sequence. Just so you don't miss anything. Every part of you gets a chance to be more mobile. One more time. Curling and twisting. And untwisting and uncurling. Let's change the legs. Change the arm position. Right hand behind the head, left arm straight out to the side. And we're doing 6 of these. So we're curling the head and neck and thorax off the floor, twisting to the left, and then untwisting and uncurling. Curling and twisting, untwisting and uncurling. Working in a sequence and releasing. Let's do 3 more. And uncurling, curling and twisting, untwisting, uncurling. One more time. and releasing all the way down to the floor. Now let's take the arms both out wide. Okay. Bring the legs off the ground into a tabletop position without any contact between the feet or knees. So your legs are spaced apart. And we're going to do 3 rounds of spinal twist that turns the pelvis with the legs to the right, coming back to the center. Spinal twist that turns the pelvis on the legs to the left, coming back to the center. Right? Keeping the legs steady in the hip sockets so that you experience this motion in your torso, not in your hip sockets. So your legs are absolutely steady. Let's do it one more time, twisting the spine to turn the pelvis to the right, coming back to the center, twisting the spine to turn the pelvis to the left, coming back to the center, and placing the feet down onto the ground. Okay. Now, this time, when we come up into tabletop, we're going to connect the legs to each other. We're going to twist the spine to turn the pelvis to the right. So your left hip is off the ground. Now pause, straighten your legs. So you're really trying to make yourself in a low, long, straight line. Retract your legs, come back to the center. Twist to the left, pause. Straighten out your legs in the twisted position. Retract your legs, come back to center. Again, twist to the right, pause. Extend your legs. So you almost feel the twist all the way down into your feet. Come back to center. Twist to the left. Extend, feeling that twist through the body and legs. Retract back to center one more time. Twisting to the right. Pause, extend, keep twisting those legs. Retract, come back to center. Twist to the left, pause. Keep that twist as you extend those legs. Come back to center and let those feet rest. Bring your arms alongside your body. Set your legs to be hips distance apart. And 3 times, let's go into bridge. Let's roll ourselves up into the bridge. Now, if you want to roll right back down, you can, or I'm going to take a different variation. I'm going to pick up my arms, plug the tips of my thumbs into the floor, and then I'm going to roll back down and bring my arms back down by my side. Now, if that's too much for you, just do a regular bridge. But if you like this one, roll your spine up and pause. Lift your arms, bring them all the way overhead, plug the tips of your thumbs into the floor, and now melt back down through your spine. Bring your arms back down by your sides. Let's do that one more time. Roll your spine up. And if you want to take that extra variation, lift your arms, plug your thumbnails into the floor, and then roll yourself all the way back down and bring your arms back down by your sides. Yes, really, really nice. Let's turn and come onto our side. So you're going to lay in a long straight line on your side, okay? And if you need to use a pillow when you lay on your side, that's fine. If you have the ability to have your arm in the same position that I have my arm, I find that it's a lot more pleasant to do the full body side bend when your bottom arm can extend upwards. But I totally understand if that's not comfortable for your shoulder. So you do what you can, right? But this is going to make the movement, the whole movement, I think, more comfortable than if your arm is forward, right? But if it has to be forward, then it has to be forward. Now, your top hand, you can either come to the tips of your fingers, right? Or you could put a block on the floor. But I don't think you're putting your palm on the floor is going to work because that typically pulls the shoulder out of alignment and forward, right? So let's try fingertips if you can balance that way. Now, keeping the legs together at all times. This is for your whole spine and your legs, so your whole body is involved. We're going to arc the body like a crescent moon away from the floor and then return it back down. Now take your time with this. because you don't want to bend your neck more than you're bending the rest of your spine, right? And the lifting of your legs actually helps you to get a little bit more bend out of your lower spine. Otherwise, you really just feel it in your neck and your upper spine. Let's do 3 more of these if we can. Bending sideways. And I think one more, if I'm not mistaken, bending sideways and lowering all the way back down. Okay, now we're going to do another bending sideways from the same side, right? So you're not switching sides, but you are going to switch your position. Okay, so let's grab the roller or a block. You might need a prop for this. Okay, so uh, yeah. So you might need a prop to help you get into the right starting position. So your bottom leg is flexed in tabletop, and your top leg is straight, and you're on the side of your foot. Okay. But then this bottom leg, actually, what we want to do with where the foot is we want to kind of bring that, put more flexion into the knee, because you might find that it's easier to use this leg if you have the foot closer to the center line of your body. Now, my bottom arm is positioned on the floor so I can put some weight into my forearm and my elbow and my hand. Okay, so that my shoulder is supported. I don't want my shoulder joint to take the brunt of this. Okay. And having the roller here to start kind of gives you an idea of what it should feel like where you're beginning, right? So you're really just using the roller to help create a template, right? If I remove the roller, right, I don't want to start like this. Right. So the roller sort of gave me the suggestion that the way that I want to start is already actively supporting the weight of my trunk in this sideways position. Okay. Not sagging down towards the floor. Right. So the roller just gives us that sense. Now you could keep the roller there if you wanted to, or you just remember what that felt like. Now the action is to continue. If the roller is here, so why don't I just put that back? The action is to come up away from the roller, and now we're bending the spine in the other direction, right? And then we're lowering back down, and then we're coming up and we're bending the spine in the opposite direction of our first motion. Let's do 2 more. Right. So using the muscles now on the side of the body that's closer to the floor to create this bend, and then lowering all the way back down, right? Okay, so we didn't do as many of those because those are harder. Okay, so now let's switch sides. So we're going to first begin laying on our side in a straight line. Okay, and for this version of the side bend, we'll be working the muscles on the side of the body that's closer to the ceiling versus the side of the body that's closer to the floor. Fingertips touch the ground. If you can have your bottom arm up, that is, I feel like, the easiest position for this. But if that doesn't work, you modify, right, to make it work. Legs together, we're going to curve the spine and uncurve the spine. Curving the spine away from the ground and toward the ceiling, creating kind of like a crescent shape. Using the tips of the fingers or a yoga block to help us feel balanced. And let's do 2 more, working the muscles that are closer to the ceiling then the floor, and we'll do that one more time. Side bending away from the ground and then lowering back down. Now, in that second position, which is a very different position than the first, right? Because we're up and one leg is straight and one leg is flexed, and we're propped up on that lower arm, and we're using the roller to just give us a sense of where we really need to be to start this motion, start this effort. But now, this effort doesn't come from the muscles on the side of the body closer to the ceiling. This comes from the muscles on the side of the body that's closer to the floor, right? Because now we're going to curve the spine the other way. So in this effort, we're using the muscles closer to the floor to curve the spine in the opposite direction. And let's do 3 more of those. Curving and uncurving. That's what side bending is. We're curving the spine. And one more, curving and uncurving. Really good. Let's set the roller off to the side and come onto our backs. And then once you're laying on your back, go ahead and take a hold of your shins and just give yourself some nice circle motions, relaxing your body for a moment or two. And then reversing the direction of your circles. Okay, let's put the feet down and turn all the way over so that we're on our belly. And let's lay on our belly with our hands overlapped and our forehead resting on our hands. So just take a moment to let your body adjust to this position. Hands overlapped, forehead resting on your hands, right? And modify this if you need to in some way, right? Because for some people, their shoulders are really tight and cranky, and this is not a comfortable position to be in. Okay. And then bring your legs together to touch. Okay. But before we do anything with the legs, let's bring our awareness to the front of our pelvis, specifically the pubic bone, right? So I want you to just try to make an adjustment and an effort with some of your muscles to create a feeling of pressing the pubic bone into the floor. Not forcing it, but just feeling a little bit more positive pressure at the pubic bone, right? And let's see if we could maintain that feeling of pressure in the pubic bone when we bend the knees. So we don't lose that feeling of pressure. And then straighten the knees. Right, so keep the pubic bone pressing down as you flex the knees. And then straighten the knees. Flex. Straighten. Right, your mind's eye focused on how do I keep the pressure at the pubic bone. Maybe that's a little low abdominal effort combined with a little glute effort. And one more time. Flexing the knees, extending, and resting the feet down on the mat, relaxing your muscles and swishing your hips from side to side. Now, for the next action, which is a spinal extension with an arm movement, potentially with an arm movement, let's make sure that we have room to reach the arms out to the sides. Okay, so just double check that. But then to begin this action with your legs hips distance apart, and the tops of your feet on the floor. Now, again, this is a position where your feet might cramp because your feet are not accustomed to being in plantar flexion, right? So it's just something that we work towards, and you do the best you can with this position. Bring your arms alongside your body. This is going to feel difficult for some of us. Touch your palms to your sides. Touch your palms to your sides. Wow. It's amazing how much effort it takes with straight arms to hold your palms against the side of your body, right? And then with that little effort started, let's lift our chest a little bit away from the floor, pubic bone heavy in the mat, tops of the feet down. Now, holding this position, slowly bring your arms out to a T so that the palms face the floor. Holding the position, bring your arms back alongside your body so your palms touch your sides or sides of your legs, count as sides, and then lower down. That's one. We're going to do four more. Feet on the ground, pubic bone heavy. Lift your chest a little bit. Pause. Float your arms out to a T with your palms facing down. Float your arms back alongside your body with your palms touching some part of your side and then lower back down. That's two. Float the chest up, float the arms out, palms face down. Bring the arms back alongside your body and lower your chest. That's three. Lift the chest, pause. Float the arms out, palms down. Bring the arms back, touching the sides of your legs and lower back down. One more. Lifting the chest, bringing the arms out to a T, bringing your palms positively back to the side of your body, and then lowering all the way down. Overlap your hands, let your forehead rest, relax your body, and swish from side to side. Now, let's come up onto our forearms with our fingers interlaced, legs in parallel. Okay. Keeping that sense of positive pressure in the pubic bone. So here, with our mind's eye, we want to again be able to sense the pubic bone, belly button, breastbone relationship. So we're trying to create a line of muscular tension that sort of flattens out the line that goes from the pubic bone to the belly button to the chest. And what that does for the spinal column is it helps to alleviate compression in some of the spinal joints, right? So if we can engage the central abdominal line, pubic bone to navel to breastbone, then we also give the spine better support, right? So that's what we're looking for here. And now holding that line of support on the front of the body for the spinal column, we're going to engage our back muscles to help to bring the back of our chest closer to our butt. So a combination of effort between the muscles on the front of the body and the muscles on the back of the body, right? And then once we've accomplished that, we hold that and we go to the legs where we are going to do a double kick. So we're going to flex each knee twice, alternately pointing and flexing the ankles. So we hold the line of tension on the front of the body that gives the spine support. We create a line of tension up the spinal column, which draws the back of the chest towards the butt. As we work our coordinated double knee flexion, pointing and flexing the feet. Let's do one more for each. Very challenging effort. And then let's lower down, come off of our arms, and roll onto our backs. Now, please avoid hugging your knees into your chest. Instead, just roll onto your back and lay on the floor with your limbs extended but relaxed. So your arms are straight but relaxed. Your legs are straight but relaxed. So just give your body a chance to adjust to this position first so that we can do a muscular action to alleviate tension in the back, right? So let's lay like an X with our feet as wide apart as our mat and bring our hands behind our head with our elbows out wide, right? Feet pointed again. So we're working on that ability to train the muscles of the feet to better tolerate plantar flexion, which is really the opposite of what they're like when we're standing on our feet. Okay. And then let's do the diagonal curl, bringing the knee across to the opposite side of the chest. So we'll do 3 rounds. On the exhale, bringing the opposite knee across, using the muscles on the front of the body to perform the action and allowing the back muscles to soften and lengthen to make it easier for us to curl on the diagonal. Let's do it one more time for each side. And release your head to the mat. Go ahead and bend your knees and bring your feet together to touch. So your legs are as close together as your legs can be. From here, we're going to pick up the right leg and cross it all the way over the left leg. So there's no space between the legs. And position your left foot so it feels like it's aligned with the center line of your body. Okay, so just kind of wiggle it right into the middle. Let your head gently roll to the right and allow your legs to slowly turn to the left. So we started by moving the head first, and now we're going to use the core muscles to control this spinal twist. And if it feels like too much, you could always put a yoga block underneath your legs so that you're not trying to go too far. But my foot hits the ground, my right foot hits the ground, so that stops me from going too far with this twist. So my head has turned, my pelvis is turning in the opposite direction of my head. And then I'm just going to rest here and take a few breaths. Now, if you wanted to go a little further, you can just make a slight adjustment to your legs. Don't force anything, please. Just let it be gentle for your body. Let it feel good. Let's take one more breath. Use your core strength to bring yourself out of the twist and back to the center. Head back to the middle and uncross. So adjust yourself, feet right in the center. Left leg crosses closely over the right. That right foot is right in line with your center line. First, roll your head to the left and then turn your pelvis to the right. I find it's easier to turn my head first when I'm twisting rather than last. So we just allow the subtle changes along the spinal column that make it possible for the cranium, the head, to go in one direction and the sacrum and pelvis to go in the opposite direction. Let's take one more breath and then use your core strength to come out of it with control and uncross those legs. Now you can take those knees and circle the back of your pelvis on the floor if that feels good to you, circling in both directions. And when you're ready, just begin to take your time to make your way onto your side and then coming up off your mat. No need to hurry. I just popped up so I can stop the recording.